save the results somewhere? You're saying to save the file, and then you want me to upload the file on Connect, correct?
Please.
Okay, and then so it saved the file. I gotta go find the file.
I think, Chris, it's different. When you do this online, you don't get the results.
Correct.
It goes somewhere else.
Yeah, where did it go? That's why I didn't remember it saying it saved the file. That's why I said maybe I just didn't notice it. I'll go look.
I'll look for you. I'll check it out with SETI. And
okay.
If you question individually, I'll make sure we get back to you on that. And I'll do that during our lunch break so that we can come back in the afternoon part with everybody synced up, hopefully, with where your DISC report is.
Right, because I think in my case, if I recall correctly, Lisa was helping me, and she told me that once you do the class, probably in the class, you will discuss the results.
Okay.
If we don't have one for you, we'll get one for you.
We'll get one. Yes, that's fine. We'll use SETI as our backup, as our safety net. If you happen to have that, Doc, I'd love you to load it in. If not, we'll work that through the lunch hour. So we just want to make sure you have the point of reference of what Jim's been discussing here as far as you can kind of see why we do this because not necessarily how you present and how you communicate. You're going to be dealing with someone on the other side of the table, just like me, who's going to be in a completely different world, which is what Jim's getting to, is how do we find that balance? How do we find that middle ground to seek understanding and to get what we're trying to get to here, which is eventually, I've got something to offer you. I'd like you to consider it and at some point close on it. So I will transition that back to the masters and how we're going to make that happen.
Good. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to start putting some of this together here a little bit. We've talked about importance of communications. We've talked about communication styles. And this is really, how do I get a two-way conversation going? What do I need to know about the other person? What do I need to know about myself in order to project the right message? What do I need to see in that other person to interpret what they're projecting to me? Some ideas about how to respond to that. We'll be building that into some of our other discussions as we go. But what I want to focus on right now is I want to take some precepts and concepts of how we tend to introduce ourselves when people ask me the simple question, well, what do you do? We have a tendency to start right off into the description of what we do. Sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's more subjective, but I want to give you some building block ideas as to how to craft what to say when someone says, tell me what you do, or who are you, or hello, my name is Jim, what do you do, who are you? This is really important because it's going to become sort of the lead of a lot of things. It's going to be a lead statement somewhere as you engage with people, again, virtually or face-to-face in networking events, chamber events, trade shows, and things of that nature, as you begin to get out into leads groups like BNI. There's going to be a lot of situations for you to be able to describe to someone what you do. And I'm going to submit here that there is a good way and a not so good way to do that. And it tends to be that our gut reaction sometimes takes us in the wrong direction. And I'll share with you what I mean by that and help you kind of see what we're driving toward as far as introducing yourself. On the phone, you're going to introduce yourself a little bit differently than you would to someone in person. On the first call, or when you're calling to follow up a lead whom you already know is interested in you, you might have a little different twist on how you introduce yourself and what you do. So I'm going to talk about those various concepts and various ways you can introduce yourself in different situations, but I want to start building it on sort of a tendency we all have. This is going to be more typical of a networking environment. And by the way, you do have lots of opportunities to do virtual networking. And this is where it becomes really important, because rather than just move around the room, in essence, communicating and meeting people in sort of a social way on the Zoom screen, and the moderator says, okay, I want everybody to go around the room and introduce themselves. And you've got 30 seconds to do that, or maybe it's 15 if it's a big crowd. And I want to make sure that what you say in that 15 seconds is going to create the most impact as possible to get someone to be interested in taking the conversation to another step, or taking the initiative to, hey, Bill, can you tell me more? Or Jerome, maybe we ought to get together on the phone after this is over and talk a little bit more about that. That's the reaction I want you guys to elicit when you tell them what you do and how you do introduce yourself to them. So having said that, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a quiz here. One is I want to ask, from what you've learned last week and what you guys have talked about, give me a couple things that pop to mind immediately as to what does CMIT do for a small business owner. Jerome, what is the thing that pops to your mind when you say, well, what does CMIT do for a small business owner?
We take care of their technology so that they focus on their business.
Okay. All right, Stanley, what do you got? Give me one of your top ones there.
Okay, I'll help you. Provide the necessary training to help them to be successful. That's kind of global, but it's so much training.
So what? So let me. I'm going to ask a question right here rather than later. So if I were to say, or I were to hear that, I'd say, oh, you're a training organization. Is that accurate? That's my first reaction. Is that you're a training organization.
All right, so provides the necessary tools to be a successful owner. And one of the tools is training, put it that way.
There's tools to be successful. Okay, all right, I'm gonna stop with that, and we'll come back to that here and visit it and just get another sense of clarity here. Tan, what are your thoughts on how you see CMIT doing something? What is it we do for a small business owner?
So my understanding is CMIT does a lot of different things for a small business owner, depending on where they are, starting from managing their IT assets to advising them on their IT roadmap, to helping them if they want to be compliant, to helping them do a vulnerability check, making sure the networks are secure. So virtually anything IT, I would say.
Okay. All righty. Bill, how about yourself?
Yeah, all the things that the guy said, but one of the things that I think about is the protection side of things. We help small business owners be protected in a way that it's at the same level that a large business can be protected in the world of internet and IT solutions.
Bill, we could hardly hear you.
Yeah, I was ready to say I thought it was me, but
Really?
yeah, we didn't hear you.
The mic is
Real close.
I'm normally a loud talker, so maybe I was just not talking loud enough. Is that any better? Still having trouble?
Yeah, kind of recap what you just said. I missed a couple of those words you used too as well. I heard you say keep you protected was one of the items I heard you say early. I lost a couple of them after that. You're muted. Okay. Can I repeat what you said, Bill?
Is this any better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better.
Yeah, it changed. Anyway, we help people with problems like this, right? But I have a high interest in the security side of protecting your IT and your assets, your computers, from any type of malicious attacks or in that type of environment.
Okay. All right, good. So I'm going to just kind of give you a list of things that other people have come up with and things that are all true. By the way, everything you guys said just then are accurate. There's nothing wrong with what you said. There's nothing incorrect. I just got a little confused with Sam. Is my first impression was that you're going to train me to do something rather than do something in terms of my IT assets or IT management. But I get that. I know where you're coming from after you explained it. So the things that we do, and this is very, very true, and this is the kind of answers I get when we get to this stage of our class a lot, is that we talk about what we do. And these are very valid. We minimize downtime. We keep things secure. We minimize loss of data from either catastrophic or malicious reasons. We're keeping things virus-free. We're supporting, keeping the end users happy and productive. We're helping the overall security of the environment. Performance is important, making sure we're keeping the environment integrity as tight as possible. We keep that going by monitoring your systems continuously, giving you alerts when necessary. These are all the things we do for a small business owner. This is this is the general first description I get from a lot of people. Now, what I've gotten from this group, I've gotten 2 people that talk more about the business side and 2 people that talk more about the technical side, both of which are okay. What I encourage you to do is think in terms, put yourself in the other person's shoes. You've got 20 people on a screen in a virtual networking environment, and everybody's going to be giving you or everybody else their 20-second, 30-second commercial. I need something that's eye-popping. I need something that stands out from the crowd about what it is that I, as a CMIT business owner, does. Putting yourself in the other shoe, in their shoes, they're listening to you talk about technology. They might be listening to someone else talk about chiropractic. They might listen to somebody else talk about getting their house painted. They might listen to someone else talk about getting your mortgage refinanced. You're going to get a lot of different inputs about what people do. And to their credit, people tend to be very transparent, very honest, and very direct about what they do. It is down to the point of describing what's in their toolbox. And this is kind of an example right here. There's nothing wrong with what's here, except that it describes something that people may not be familiar with. People may know what IT is, but we just threw an acronym in here, for example, SPAM. Most people know that one. But data integrity, what does that mean? Keep people virus-free? Yeah, okay, that's great. What's a backup? What does it do? What's it for? You may be talking to people that are not as fluent as you are in your terminology and your technology. So I want to suggest that you raise this process a level and think of it in terms, well, if I do all these things here, what happens to that business? So I'm not looking so much into whether I use Ace screwdrivers or Craftsman screwdrivers in my business. That's what's in my toolkit. But what I do when I leave, you call me in to fix something, I fix it. What is it that I do for your business? What is it I do for you? So some examples might be, I help increase your user productivity, or I keep your customer service level at the highest level possible by keeping your technology up and running, or I'm helping you through productivity improvements drive more dollars to your bottom line, or I'm giving you greater peace of mind just in the general operation of your IT department. You're not worried about getting calls at midnight or working over the weekend trying to get things back up and running again, or looking over the shoulder of some service tech is in there trying to get things going. We help solve problems. We relieve pain. We do a lot of things that maybe lead to that bottom line, lead to getting more clients, improving the revenue picture. These are what I call attention grabbers. There is nobody in business that wouldn't like one of these things here, maybe all of them. But I have yet to say one thing about technology. I'm not looking to be the best showcase of technology in my community. I just want to be the best business in my community. And this is how I'm going to think as a business owner. So what I can really say is we help people with their technology to increase user productivity as an example. That makes sense? As opposed to I help people keep their environment secure. Well, okay, great. What does that do for me? Well, it keeps you from having downtime, keeps your productivity up. That's what it does. Well, let's just say that up front. A good example would be to say from a global standpoint, I protect your most important asset. What's that going to drive them to do? Well, what do you mean, my important asset? Your data. How could you run your business? How could you run your operation without your customer data or your customer information or your inventory info or your CAD/CAM system or your tax data? How could you see running your business without having that intact and maintained in such a way that it's not going to be compromised? So that's what we really do for the business. And I encourage you to submit, in this case, if we say these are the things we do, we're more likely to get someone to ask the question, well, how do you do that? And then there's your cue to get into some of the things that might be a little bit more detailed. So if you get a sense of what this thing would look like, you're talking about the high level impact on what the business will sense and what they will feel. I'm also going to throw a little challenge in here too, is that I like emotional words, and I like them in the sense of I help you from becoming this, or if you are this, I'm going to help you not be. So if I talk about, for example, I help businesses like yourself manage their IT assets so they don't become stressed or concerned about uncertainty of how well their computer is running, then you're kind of throwing a little emotion in there. It's just sort of put some implication in there that there might be some stress involved. And if you come to us with IT needs that are causing you some stress, my goal is to make your business operate better by fixing these things. That's the message I kind of want to leave without getting too technical about it. I don't want to make it personal, though. I don't want to accuse people of being kind of, messed up and highly anxious, paranoid, or anything else. But I can talk about, hey, I help people who may be frustrated over their computer operations through the use of our outsourced IT. Now, I know this probably doesn't apply to you. There's that reverse, we call it. But if you know someone that's having issues like that, I'd sure love to have an introduction. That might be a segue into getting them to talk about that themselves. Oh, well, hey, I'm kind of having that kind of situation myself. Anybody ever listen to Dr. Phil? I don't want to accuse you of anything, but Dr. Phil, Dr. Laura, they always have these callers calling in. So I got a friend that's got a problem. Who are they talking about?
Themselves.
They're talking about themselves, right?
Yeah.
Most likely.
Most likely themselves. Yeah.
So you might say, I help people that are kind of frustrated or really unhappy with their computer operations. When I partner with these kind of companies to help them drive more revenue to the bottom line, I'm sure your computer operations are in pretty good shape right now. But if you know someone that has some issues with them, I'd love to be able to talk to them. They may likely come back and say, well, I'm kind of feeling that same way too. You haven't accused them of being frustrated, but if they say, well, hey, that applies to me too. What would you do for me? That's a good way to get around that. But you're letting them know that the kind of people that come to you are people that have got problems, and that your role is to fix them. And when you fix them, you're going to show that they have a better business operation than before they talk to you. That's the message. You want to get them to bite a little bit on that teaser, to ask, well, tell me more about that. Give me more detail on how you help people do that, rather than rattle off a bunch of things that you do. Fix your car, make your engine run better, clean your carburetor, get your tires balanced, things like that. What I'm really saying is I'm going to make your driving experience a lot more pleasurable. And that is the level of what we're trying to do here, is that we're going to make your IT operations, make your business better by taking some of the anxiety out of your IT operations. So you put all that together. This is one that Dallas Stewart up in Washington has used for years and still uses it in some way or another. He paraphrases it all the time. But the example is CMIT works with small business owners, or I work with small business owners who are perhaps feeling handcuffed and frustrated by the technology they're using to run their business. We partner, that's a key word there, with these business owners and help them use technology to get more clients, drive more profit to the bottom line, and achieve greater peace of mind. Now, I'm sure this doesn't apply to your business, But if you know a business owner is struggling with these frustrations and uncertainties, I would really appreciate an introduction. I have said very little. I think the only technology word I used was technology. And describe what we do by describing what the end result is, not how we get there. If they ask the question, well, tell me more, then you're inviting the opportunity to get more into the how. But you really want to get them to think about and get that sort of, oh, tell me more about that kind of inquisitive response by talking to them about what their business is going to look like when you start working with them. That's the goal here. A little bit different. In fact, it's a whole lot different than what you might normally hear in a networking meeting about when people say what they do, or they answer your question about what do you do, or they get up at a BNI meeting and describe how they operate. This is what you're likely to hear. I want you to think about writing one for tomorrow to give back to me something along the line how you would phrase what you do or what you would say if asked, what do you do? And assume you're talking to another business owner. That's going to be the only condition I put on it. And they've asked you the question, what do you do? How would you respond given what we just talked about? Go back and review this presentation a little bit. Go through it, kind of get some words that you might think are fit your style, fit your comfort level, that would describe more about how a business owner might respond to you. Now, there's different ways. This is a good example of how you might respond in a networking meeting, a chamber of commerce event where you're meeting people and people are talking about, well, what do you do? And you're just saying, well, what do you do? And you're having 5-minute exchanges at most. This is the longest I want you to get into what you do. The next step would be to say, maybe it's a good opportunity for us to get together, talk a little bit more detail if you've got some interest in this, but don't get into a long soliloquy. When people are trying to meet other people, you don't want to be spending 20-minute conversations in a corner trying to explain all the things you do. That make sense?
Yes, sir.
This afternoon, I'm going to show you a different way to perhaps introduce yourself when you're on a telephone conversation. It won't be this long. It'll be very short, but it'll have the same construct and it'll have the same concept built into it. I'm not getting into details of anything that I do. I'm trying to pick on a need or a situation or a problem or something this person thinks about a lot. And I'm going to say how we help other people to do it. You'll find a different way perhaps when you're talking on a telephone conversation, or you will find a different approach to when you're calling someone in response to a lead response. You get a lead. What do you say to them when you pick up that phone the first time? What's your conversation going to sound like? So we're going to touch on those three aspects. What do you say, which is this one here, in a meeting of a networking nature or chamber of commerce event nature or a leads group? How do you introduce yourself on a telephone? Same kind of concept, but different words and different construct. And what do you do when you pick up that call to make that first outbound call to someone's inquired through the web lead, through a phone call or whatever? Please call me back. I want to talk to you about what you do. We'll talk about those other two after lunch. I'm going to stop here and ask you if you've got any questions about what we've talked about here. Does it make sense to you? Is there anything that you want to add to this or inquire about it? Because I'm going to ask you, not now, but tomorrow morning, I want you to come back with me when I'm going to give you each a shot at giving me a 30-second commercial, and we'll talk about it. But I want you to think about it overnight, be comfortable in what you would say it, how you would say it, and we'll review it as a group tomorrow. And any concern, any question about that?
30 seconds is long, but
It doesn't have to be 30. By the way, when I first got trained in it used to be called an elevator speech. Well, I don't find myself on an elevator very often, a lot less often than I do find myself in networking meetings or on the phone talking to somebody. So it's 30-second commercials where I've got to learn. Now I'm thinking 20-second commercial. On a phone, it's a 5-second commercial, or maybe 10. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But it doesn't have to be 30. It just means short.
And the other question is, I hear BNI a lot. I mean, these are all new terminologies for me. I'm assuming it's business network something.
International. Yeah.
Say it again.
Business Networking International.
International. Okay.
It's the largest, what we call closed lead group in the world. Closed lead group means you have representatives, 20 to 25, maybe 30 people, typical, business owners, each from a different profession. So there's not competition in the room, so to speak, helping each other with referrals by learning about each other's business and acting as a extension of your own sales team. You meet with that same group of people every week or every 2 weeks, whatever the frequency of meeting is. It's unlike the networking events you go to where different people show up for different reasons at different times. And they could be 50, they could be 10, they could be 100. And you don't always meet the same people over and over again. The networking leads group is one of a tight team kind of a structure, whereas a open networking event is more people show up, depending on the time of the day, the month, or whatever the event is to meet other people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and the question when you said what does CMIT do for the small business owner, the reason I answered the way I did, I thought you were talking about us. I thought you meant like what I've been going through the last couple of weeks.
Right.
So I mentioned, well, we're learning about tools, we're learning about products, we're getting training, we have assigned advisors or coaches. So my apologies for that. I didn't realize you meant
no apologies.
us.
No apologies in this world. We're all together. We're asked questions, and no question is a bad question. So you let me know what you're thinking, and that's where we'll go. But yes, you're right. I mean, if you think in terms of yourself, what you're going to be doing for your clients, how would you describe that? When somebody else asks you, well, tell me what you do for people that you serve.
Yeah.
I want to tell them something that'll engage them, and I want to say something that'll create a response. I want to question back, say, oh, tell me more about that. All right, guys, I am going to give you a break now for lunch, and we'll pick up again at 1 o'clock, Chris, is that right?
12 Central, 1 o'clock Eastern.
12 Central, 1, yeah, 12, 1. I'll get it right one of these days. 12 Central, 1 o'clock Eastern. It's half right.
Awesome. Thanks,
Okay.
Jim.
All right, guys, I'll
Chris.
leave anything live, and if you need to call me, my phone number is 512-431-4808.
I'll put that in the chat. Stand by.
Yeah, call me if there's any questions that come up. In the meantime, I am going to go check on the disc reports and see where they are.
Jim, give that number again, please.
512-431-4808.
It's in the chat if you need to pick it up.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
No
Okay,
worries,
guys.
We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.